breakdowns.
Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. Today we are on episode 49, all right? And I'm excited. It was a new season, and I'm super excited because today we actually have the band that's responsible for the intro song on this season. But today we have Instinct. What's going on, guys?
What's going on, man?
Not much. We're chilling. Today we have Isak and Cody, which I'm excited as hell. I've been seeing you guys play for this year, and then even some of our shows and stuff like that we've had you on. I've been super excited to really get to know you guys. But I just want to touch. We were talking earlier. You were pointing out up here we have that's one of your favorite. That is your favorite album. Definitively, you could say that.
Yeah,
right?
that album holds so much nostalgia just from growing up.
Yeah.
It's
for those who have heart. For some reason, for me, is one of the first albums that got me into anything that was slightly heavier than what was on the radio, because they have a blend of their choruses are real poppy.
Your parents wouldn't get mad.
Yeah,
listening to A Day to Remember.
I was there's some nice stuff in here I can show you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's honestly pretty cool. I want to add a bigger collection, so we can add a. I would like to genuinely have favorite albums of people. But we were talking earlier, Esau, you're saying it's hard for you to kind of narrow it down for you to an actual favorite album.
Yeah.
What's the thing lately you've been listening to?
I was listening to this band called Yaoja. I know where they're from, but they're from America. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more they got death metal, black metal,
Yeah.
hardcore, all sludge all mixed together.
Okay.
And it's unique. That's
Yeah.
what I like, and I've been listening to that a lot.
It's kind of that's kind of the biggest thing in I think writing music right now is how to make your sound unique.
Yeah.
What do you think you guys tell that? So because I've listened even just today re-listening to everything that you guys have done. You can definitely see the jump from the earlier stuff that you were doing to the newest singles, which is tight because both of them are dope. But me and Bert were talking, and it has almost an element of it feels honestly a little hardcore on some of them with some of it feels there's two-stepping parts to these things, which is really neat, and even some of the later stuff. But do you think you purposely try to think of how to make things different, or do you think organically stuff like that just flows?
Well, it's 50-50 for me. It's all what I've been listening to at that time that affects a lot in my writing. And maybe I was listening to a lot of hardcore, so that's when you can feel okay, there's a lot of hardcore in here. But most of the time, I'm just listening to metal, so I try to mix it all together. So it's not. You obviously want to have your own sound, but I think it comes naturally depending on what you're listening on that time.
Yeah. It honestly, anything that I think you'll be listening to at the time will bleed through into what you're doing, because that's just kind of the way music taste and writing goes. It's just whatever you're listening to, obviously it's going to influence somehow in there, even if it's not you're not trying to write a hardcore song you write or something like that. You're writing something and be oh, maybe an element you remembered kind of flows into that. How long have you been playing separately? I guess because the band formed back in 2019. Is that right? Okay. But you guys obviously been playing music for a minute by yourself, or was that kind of when you started playing?
So I've been playing music since I was 12 years old, but took a huge gap, and after that gap, that's when I kind of met up with them. Taylor hit me up and showed us the early EP and stuff, and I will say this: getting back into playing again and just really feeling myself. He's a hard guy to keep up with. He's not easy to keep up with, but that's
he's doing great though. He is doing great.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
He's you're doing okay. We'll keep you around. But do you mean that by is it the technicality of what you're writing, or is it the volume?
It's more technicality.
Technicality.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's kind of cool because you have people in your band that are pushing you to get better.
Yeah.
So you're not ever gonna stagnate in what you're writing. And I've seen that a lot, and seeing people collaborate with each other and stuff, because I've listened in on people's sessions and stuff, and I'm I don't know how to write like that, and that's kind of cool. It's and then but having someone in your band like that, it's good to always have like that driving you for you to
Yeah.
write better stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's I always enjoy that part of like writing as a band, like as a collective, versus just writing like your own stuff by yourself. Is that eventually like you're gonna be pushed to do something that you're not necessarily like the best at,
Right.
and it'll either push you to rise up to meet that kind of expectation.
And he does that, man. Like he'll send me something and I'll be like, what? And, but repetitive, just listening to the song and just watching what he does and stuff. It takes its toll in some aspects, but like it's always a drive to just get to that next level as well, So the friendly competition's always,
Before coming here, we had the same conversation with Eddie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like,
Because you guys just came from practice, first of all, like into
yeah.
get here.
Yeah, just keep practicing on some parts. Like it's just like kind of sloppy at parts, and like just point that out and I'll work on it. He was like,
Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's the biggest thing. You can't let it like just slide on it, because obviously at the end of the day, like you guys are all in the same band. You're always trying to make good songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if someone gets called out, it's like, hey, I'm not trying to come for you or anything like that. It's literally like, hey, if you nail this, then the song as a whole, like the band as a whole, is gonna like
That's the
succeed.
exact
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
I used to be in a band with Eddie, so I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, Eddie. I'm not trying to talk shit, but no, but like I said, but yeah, it was something like, even when like I was in a band with Eddie, not him specific, like everybody in the band, like we had like moments like that where like, okay, if like someone is dragging or slacking, like we're not going to be able to like to write the music we want to if someone's not. And then like it especially like came to light sometimes when we were like went to record, because like when we recorded our first EP, we had never recorded really like before like that. And like even me vocally, I was like, oh, I'm not prepared at all. We got lucky that they let us pay per song instead of like per hour. I would have been screwed, like, because like I took I don't know how many days to do vocals. And I'm like, yeah, this wouldn't slide. Like, and it was like long like sessions, and I'm like, I'm doing a lot right here, and I wasn't like as prepared as I was, And then we did when we released the last single that we ended up doing, we did it with Lewis at Crooked Tooth. So where the Rotary sessions are, we did it there, and that like this is the first time that I was like warmed up for the day, had my parts like nailed as much as I could, and like vocals took like an hour, and I'm like for a song, and I'm like, okay, like so there is a thing to like being prepared, which makes the most sense, but it's kind of sometimes those conversations are tough, like with band members and stuff like. But I like that you guys are just like, hey, we're gonna be cut and dry, like figure this out.
Yeah, it's a full level-headed experience. Like if everybody puts their egos away and just listens to each other, I feel like that's super important. And if you find that in a band, like there's no stopping you. Yeah,
no, that's the biggest thing is communication. Is like this sometimes like the simplest like concept, but to put into practice, like people are like, oh no, they'll get it eventually, or they should know that they should be doing this. Like, oh, maybe they don't, what I mean? Or maybe they just need that extra push. You need somebody to say like.
Sometimes you just keep waiting. Like, he just joined the band. It's gonna get better. Like once he get used to the songs, but it don't happen sometimes. And you gotta point him and hey.
And then like if you wait too long, then like it causes infighting. Cause now you're like, oh, well, you should have done this by now. And then like, well, you never brought it up. And then it's always like things that literally, if you just talk about it, can be avoided. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that's one thing that I even like with like NoiseROT stuff and things like that. Like I started like slacking a little bit, and I was like, oh, no one's called me out yet, and I'm like, okay. And then even though I'm not particularly like wanting to do that, like it keeps building up until like we had a talk, and it's like I was like, okay, like I want to make sure like if shit like this happens, like yes, tell me. Like I would much rather like it get told to me now and like fix it versus like it leading on to, because at the end of the day, like I said, we're trying to do some cool shit, you know what I mean? And none of us want to be one of the hindrance to like it not being as great as it can.
Absolutely.
Especially like with your guys, like yours has been like super good. And Eddie just joined last year, right? He's the newest member that joined, right? I think it was like early in the year. With writing, how because you guys like have dropped a few 2 singles last year or 3?
We did 3 because Embers in the beginning.
Right. Okay. Embers one, then Native Stone, and then the most recent one, which is the one who knocks, right?
Yeah.
Fucking dope ass fucking songs. I'm sorry. I was
appreciate
jamming them down. I'm like, oh, I like that. And then I realized I had listened to those more than the older stuff. But when I was listening to the older stuff, I'm like, the older stuff's badass too. I'm like, fuck, like it's a nice like change of pace. Are you guys like planning on releasing like some sort of like full record, or is it like kind of just dropping singles at the time?
That's what we're talking about too. Like we don't know like what's gonna be good right now because everybody's like just do singles right now. People don't listen to the whole album like.
Yeah.
And also, you need more time to record a whole album. You just need like a day to record a single.
Yeah.
So we can get away with just singles.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think we're just gonna try and do the singles first.
I think that's a debate that's been happening, and I've talked to a few people about the concept of like, you know, the whole albums or whole EPs versus like you know, singles. And the artist in me is always gonna be like, oh, like I want to do a whole album because I got an idea for all this stuff. But when I look at like what's the most productive thing to do, like if you record singles and like you could record like that whole album and drop it in singles throughout the entire year, and your name's gonna be out and relevant for a whole year. You know, like you could do every month or even every 2 months, something like that, something new. And people's attention spans are so like short,
especially in this day and age.
Yes, yeah, it's really hard. Like even like this for me, like is people like some people told me like, oh, you know, they're like, you know, who's gonna listen to like an hour? It's like people do like, and I'm gonna wait like when that thing's like, but I enjoy doing like the long content because it's not something like even like at this level or any like local stuff, like there's no one like doing a lot of it at the moment. I was like, and I want to show like highlight like bands, so maybe, you know, maybe the format of it like won't get that many views, but then like I also do like little short clips and stuff like that, so people can watch. That's like the digestible like while you're scrolling through your phone that you can do. But yeah, it is really hard to get someone to sit down and listen to a new artist, you know what I mean, or a newer artist or someone that's, you know, listen to that whole album. And even if you listen to all of it, how you're gonna make it be a repeatable album to listen to again, you know?
Yeah, I see a lot of bands like Kublai Khan just recently did it where they released like 4 singles and then just released an EP, and all those songs were on that tied to one album art. And it really does keep you relevant over the course of a few months. Yeah. While you're getting everything else prepared as far as like music videos or anything else. But back to the attention span thing. It's
stuff.
You gotta be pushing yourself out there as much as possible, and we're trying to really hone in on that. And
yeah, it's a weird game to like, you have to, as a musician, you have to take in fact like, oh, not only like do I have to write music and like it'd be good and like me like happy with everything, it's like, oh, also how do you promote it? And that was always like the annoying part. Like to me, I'm like, I don't like want to worry about that, you know, too much. But it's such a like focus game, like, and then how much content do you want to put out there? Like how much should you be putting out there? And how fleeting stuff is, you know, how like if you work hard on a music video, sometimes, you know, people will watch it and then it's like, okay, like and I feel bad sometimes because I'm like, when was the last time I watched like a music video, like to sit down and like watch it? I'm like, it used to be like there's this whole weird like adaptability that you have to like adapt to the time to make everything. Like it's I remember looking forward to like stuff like that, and now I'm like, oh, they have videos, like I didn't know that, like or whatever. But I've been like taking the time lately to listen to albums all the way through and finding stuff that I like that I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna play it from the beginning and listen to it all.
That's
so I'm making time for that. Yeah, like I enjoy that. I do enjoy that concept, but it is difficult when you write something and you put it out and then like, oh, like people heard it for a week and then like it's gone. I'm like, I worked so fucking hard on this, like
for this concept.
Yes, especially concept albums, which I'm like, I see people put effort into like these things. I'm like, and it's like gone like in the next like month or so. One of the cool like releases I've seen, actually, when Sleep Token did this album, they released I think one song every week, so like as a single, and then they instead of releasing the last song, they released the whole album together. But it was like it was interesting to see like, oh, like it's just and it was weird because like they would release the first single, then the next single they would release, but in that single packet would have the first one and the second one and the same thing, the 3 songs now, 4 songs now, 4 or 5. So it was an interesting way to do it. And then I guess they're doing it again because I think they're doing 2 every week or something like that with something new.
Wow.
But it is an interesting way to like to keep the album relevant for that time. But yeah, singles, strategically makes sense to me, which I'm like, oh, it's cool. And I also like the fact, like you were saying, like you can go in one day and the song's like done that day. You know what I mean? Like, or you know, you finish everything that day, get it back, and you have like the power to release that, you know, whenever you want.
Especially because we record by ourselves. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, we record by ourselves, and like we don't have any restriction. Like, and we don't have the pressure, and we're like, yeah, we can do it tomorrow or something.
Yeah.
That kind of holds you back too.
Yep.
But yeah, it's doing by yourself while there's nobody like telling you to do it right, or like, because you've been listening to that song for a whole time, and like you don't know what's gonna make it sound better. Like,
yes. Working that outside view of it, a lot of times you're too close to it, and it's hard to like step back and see. The same thing. Like when I recorded with someone, I was only going in as like, I need the idea to be recorded the way we have it or whatever, and then they came at it as like a producer standpoint. It was like, well, we could do this, and they showed. I'm like, don't touch my shit, like whatever. But in actuality, like if you meet the right person, it's just finding the right person to trust.
Right there.
Yes. So like I think in that case, I think they were changing it into something that I'm like, oh, I didn't. Not only like it's not a direction I really wanted to go in, but finding someone to work with, it's got to be the toughest part, because it's like you're trusting somebody like with your music. And it is something that like I think as a musician you get really possessive of, and then like it's like, oh,
Absolutely.
I get how this is supposed to go, but I've had instances where someone points out something and it ends up becoming way better and something that I would have never thought of, and I'm like, that's wild, like that's kind of cool, but it's also somebody that I trusted a little bit more with it. But that's the hardest part, to find someone that you actually trust with your music and in what direction like you're planning to go to, or someone that it will give you something that you weren't thinking of, and it becomes like awesome, you know.
Also, because it goes towards like mix aspect too, like you're not just adding some parts to the song to make it sound good, or like a producer, but someone who mix it. You need to be you need to know the person like who's mixing it knows what you're trying to go for, you know. The single Embers Frame, we did it with Ricky and and the other dude from Australia, he just messaged us like, do you have raw files for these songs? I want to mix it. We sent it to him, and he sent his version, and we're like, oh my god. And then the next two singles we work with him. We send it to Australia. We recorded by ourselves, and we send it to Australia.
The guy's in Australia?
Yeah, he mixed it, and
that's so badass.
I'm so tight with him. Like we talk a lot.
What's his?
His Instagram handle is Better Tone Studios. Like
Better Tone Studios
out of Australia.
Shout out Better Tone Studios, because those
that's the mix that y'all using for the intro.
Yeah, that's the one for the intro. That shit sounds badass. The breakdown part on made it sound like when we were deciding what, because teacher was like, hey, like we have new intro stuff, like which song do you want to use, and like I went through a few, and I'm like listening to that mix, and as soon as that hits, I'm like, I need that, like that immediately right now. But that sounds fucking, that's so cool though. The guys in Australia, and that's one of the things that I am a fan of these days with like music and music producing and everything, that you literally can work with any fucking buddy in the world. That's nuts. That's nuts to me. Like you record something here, have them mix it out there, and you can literally have access to so much talent other than just like what's around you and stuff. So you guys track that stuff yourself and then just send it off? That's so fucking sick. That accessibility to, I like that almost everybody on average has access to be able to, you know, record that stuff at home, and then you like learn. It's just like wanting to learn, like anything you need to learn, YouTube. Google or YouTube, you know what I mean? Like is easy enough like that. And equipment isn't as expensive to get started out with, you know, and then after you get good or whatever, you know, you start building up. Even like stuff like what we did here. I mean, I started with just like, you know, basic cameras, like whatever mics we had lying around, you know what I mean, and just slowly build up. But it's just if you want to take the interest in it, in doing it. I had Zaylin from Dispositions on here one time, and I remember when I got my first camera, I was asking him, I was like, hey, what camera do you use? Like, what do you recommend for me? This is what I'm trying to do, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, you know, I'm going to give you the best piece of advice. He's like, look it up yourself. And at the time, I was like, this guy's being an asshole. Like, I was like, fucking whatever. And then, I was like, this guy's being an asshole. And I'm like, I was mad. And I'm like, fuck it, whatever. But it made me go and research fucking everything that I wanted to out of a camera. What do I need? Blah, 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 blah. And looked it up and bought one that I felt was like good enough for me. And then, when I had him on the podcast, we were talking. He's like, yeah, that's what I do. That like it makes you actually learn what you're doing versus, just buying something because I told you and maybe I don't know what you need, and then it helps you figure out and gives you a driving force for it. It is tough, but like if you want to do something, like you're gonna figure it out. Like at the end of the day, like if you aren't working for it, it's not because you can't, because it's available. And I like. This is like I'm not aiming this at anyone specific other than myself, because this is like what I have to tell myself when I'm like, damn, I don't know how to do this, and I'm like, it's your fault. Like it's a quick Google, like it's gonna take you a quick Google search, and you can like figure most of this, like most of the stuff out. You know what I mean?
I've seen that a lot. Like a lot of people when I post my riffs, and they go like, what are you using for recording, and like what software is it? You gotta do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Like everything is available right now, especially if you're a musician in this age. You don't know how to record yourself. It's kind of because everything is available right now.
You gotta be able, yeah.
So and if you have an idea and you are not able to record it, it's just a thought in your head now.
Mm-hmm.
You're not able to express it. So I think recording in this is very important.
I think it's very important because it allows you to write songs without having to be in the same room together.
Of course.
And which was like the traditional ways, like, oh, like at band practice, like we'll go over like this riff. But if I send you a riff that I've been working on, and then by the time we have band practice in a week, like it's already in your head, so you come with something already, versus hearing it fresh new, having to take it home and remember it or record it with your phone, like on a voice memo or something. Just like because that's I forgot who I was talking to, but their members are like spread out. Actually, it was a band called Spineless. Their band members are spread out like quite a bit, and that's all they do. Like, oh, they all like rotate riffs. And like, I think that's a majority way of like what people were going. Like, this is the idea I have. Here you go. Think of what you like want to add to it, or like add to it. And then by the time you get together to actually practice together, there's a bit more of a skeleton there already developed rather than coming fresh every week. Yeah. But yeah, it's a skill. Depending on what you need to do, you do need to pick up like these sort of skills, like on how to be able to record and write together. But yeah, recording I think these days is one of the big ones. Like it's essential.
That's how this band was formed, to be honest. Like I had the first EP recorded, and that's when I started looking for members. So if I never knew how to record, this band wouldn't have been there.
No.
Holy crap. When did you start like learning to do that stuff? Like right when you were playing?
No, like I started doing this like using Fruity Loops and stuff when I was.
Oh really? Yeah, nice.
Like 14. It's the same thing. Like Cubase, Logic is the same thing that how you program the drums and stuff. It's all the same thing. So for specifically with Instinct stuff, I think I started writing after 2018 or something like that, and I was writing like it was like 4 songs ready, and what I do with these songs. So I have the songs, but do I just want to work with the vocalist and put it out like an online band?
Gotcha, yeah.
I asked myself, I want to play live too.
Yeah.
And then I saw Taylor's post on Craigslist. He was like, "Oh, I'm a vocalist and I want to."
What the fuck on Craigslist? Yeah. That's so badass.
I think that's how we found Eddie too.
Yeah, that's where I go. I think like I'm not out there putting my stuff like, hey, I have this and can you come join my band? I don't do that. I don't know what it is, but I'm not confident enough to do that.
Oh, gotcha.
But, and whoever is like, hey, I want to do this. I want the vocals. I play guitar. I will hit them up.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I have this, and they were like, I had all their songs recorded. They wanted to add vocals to his. Taylor was like, yeah, I want to. And we met up, and that's how we started demoing like what would sound good.
Yeah.
But the instruments were all done, and that's when he came in and. Did you just learn the bass, or did you, no? Yeah, he learned the bass part later.
Yeah, I was in another band playing bass. I hadn't been playing bass for long. I was in. They used to be called Steady the Mammoth.
Yo, Steady the Mammoth. I remember that.
Yeah,
we played with them back in the day. Yeah.
So yeah, we when they changed their name to Lockhart, and Jeff from Dispositions was our drummer, and yeah, we ended up not doing very much, man.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucked, but After that, I kind of took a break from playing any instruments, and then Taylor hit me up and was like, "Dude, you got to come join this band." And the rest is history.
So Taylor was the one that got you like to reach out to you to join.
Yeah, because he was actually playing guitar like part time in Steady the Mammoth and Lockhart.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
it's his first band as a vocalist.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Collapse into Chaos, or
that's
or was it Collapse into Chaos?
Yeah.
It was his old band he used to play guitar for.
That's nuts. Yeah, because that's what I was saying. I was listening to the recordings and the Rotted Root session, and he's got a consistent like vocal like take. Like it's, I didn't see it like waver throughout, and I'm like, I like hearing like a very consistent tone where it doesn't come in and out. Like I don't know. Yeah. It sounds like he's been doing it like for forever. He's solid as hell. Yeah,
he's very good. His style is so unique, and it just adds to like what Isak's doing too. I mean, like I feel like we are unique, especially for this day and age.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really enjoy playing the music. It's a lot of fun.
That's a really good way to feel about your band. Like if you feel like like you like what you're doing. It seems like it would be like a basic thing for you, but like I remember like at the end of like, because I used to play in a band called Under Oblivion, and at the end of like our thing, I'm like, I'm not having fun anymore. Like we're writing this stuff because the stuff we were writing, we had a whole bunch of new stuff that we were writing that was so exciting, and that never got like released or anything. Yeah, but playing live, what you were saying, like that's probably what would do it for anybody. Like there's stuff that they're like, we could just put on online, but there's nothing else like playing like live. Once I'm pretty sure you play one and like, no, it's gotta.
It's just gonna scroll it down and you're gone.
Yeah, and that's it. It's tough, and I feel like I do that sometimes. I'm listening to, I'm like, that's not it, because I've heard, and also because like you can record yourself, and then some people who like don't have access to record as good, you'll hear a recording and it's like, that's okay, and then you hear them live and I'm like, that's fucking badass. So that's why live stuff is something I'm a fan of and like to go and see. Like sometimes I'll see new bands, and seeing that live experience is something else. You know what I mean? Their performance is what does it. Which is why you can't half-ass any performance, because you don't know like who that new person will be out there to want to listen to you.
I've seen you guys once. It was when I first came to America. It was like one of my first local shows.
Oh my gosh.
I remember that one, like a box thing.
Oh,
and I stepped on it and it lit up. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, we got those from Ethan. Actually, Ethan's old band was Soundings. It was before Dispositions, Soundings, and they were like, they broke up. So we were like, what are these things? And then like those pressure like little things, and we're like, because we wanted to build them ourselves, but I think we tried and like didn't work out. But we got those, and we liked those, and then we got those. Like those old metalcore light bars, like they were just like those fluorescent lights. Those were cool because you could program to your clicks. So that's all we would do. We just like start the show, and then they would automatically play to whatever backtrack it was. So we didn't have to have anybody controlling them.
Right.
And they were really cool when they worked. And then we'd have our moments, which I'm sure you guys like had like sometimes like these panicky moments where something's not working on stage or something goes, and that would happen quite frequently with those things. Where I'm like, oh my god, and I'm just like, just fuck it. I go fuck them. Like let's just go. Like we just gotta play. Those moments are up there, especially because you don't like your time changeover. Like it's like, okay, I get this many minutes, and then like suddenly, your amp's not fucking turning on, and I'm like, fuck, like what do I do in this moment? But being able to adapt and just go whatever. Have you guys had anything like weird like happen on stage?
All the time.
All the time.
It's me all the time. Like there are like a lot of pedals and a lot of wires. Like even if one's not working, that it's nothing coming through. Like I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, and then to figure out where it is.
And once, I don't know if it was with this band or some other band, like the amp was not turned. It just turned out it was on standby. So I was like freaking out there. Just like, why there's no sound card? Because it lights up. It looks like it's on, but I had it on standby.
Oh my god, that's something as simple as that, and you're like freaking out, like where the fuck is this?
Like just
I mean, earlier today, literally right before we I was like ready to go. I literally set this up, and I'm like, they're both working, and somehow or another all it was that little cable came like sort of unplugged, and I'm like, and I was looking here, called DJ, all that stuff, and really it was literally when I walked up there, I didn't tell DJ, but I walked up there, I'm like, this shit is not plugged in all the way. I go,
I
it
sensed
was.
that.
I was like, and I'm like, I'm not gonna tell him because he's gonna be really mad.
Well, now he knows.
Now he knows.
It's always gonna be there, like, but how you deal with that is what makes you different. Like, I saw this band when we played with Varials, like,
Okay.
and I saw their guitar was not working, and they were still like chilling, like nothing's wrong. And
Yeah.
if I was at that split, like I would have been freaking out. You know, like, that's how I was like, okay, you don't freak out. You
Yeah.
don't freak out. You just try to be calm and find what can you do to help that situation.
Just
right
yeah,
there.
like, I mean, what can you do to
You
move
know,
forward?
yeah.
Because you can't stop mid set, you know. And then I've had that like early on when I was playing, where we would mess up a song enough to where we would stop and start it over, and I'm like, I am never doing that again.
No.
I go, that's terrible. I go, I would rather play with and adapting whatever that ends up being, but like stopping and being like, oh, we messed up and starting over. I'm like, yeah, that's not unacceptable. Like, you can't do that. You gotta keep going.
Yeah.
It's weird, but
We've
been there too.
We've been there.
yeah. It's not the funnest, but I mean, they happen. You know what I mean? You gotta be. It used to really like freak me out and like rev me up a lot and be like, oh my god, fuck this, like what it would be happening like right now, whatever. And then I was just like, you know, you just adapt, just keep going, like whatever. Like at the end of the
when
night.
I saw y'all, Daniel fell. I don't know if you remember this. Like, he fell. Like,
Oh,
he was like on his ass.
that bass took him back. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like his face. And I mean, and that's. I mean, it happens. What are you
He
gonna
was
do?
going on, he was just
Oh
sitting-
shit! Was that the Moon Tower one? It was like the small ass place.
No,
Because he fell there too.
It was a Tomcats.
Oh shit!
It was a Tomcats.
Oh, okay. Because I remember we did it. Because there's a picture of him on the floor, and I remember it's because he fell.
That's funny.
But yeah, like it happens. I one time we played a Halloween show, and I was wearing a Fred Flintstone costume, and it's that like dress thing or whatever. So I
Right.
think I tried to like do something and lift up my leg, and it like got caught in like the thing, and I just like fell. I'm like,
Oh, no.
I fell over. I think we had the boxes, and I fell over one of those boxes, and I was just like, I'm just gonna keep fucking screaming because it doesn't matter at this point. Like, I gotta just do it.
Yeah, live in the moment.
Oh shit.
Lights
All
just
right.
went out.
Oh, you the power of the search for
The
technology.
power's over.
Without Bert.
We're good.
We back. Yeah, I mean, what do you like other than laughing that off and just keeping going? Like, I could.
There's nothing you can do really.
Yeah.
I just we strive not to have those moments happen, but
Definitely.
it's inevitable. Like
you learn every time though.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got to be careful.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff,
plugging
yeah.
your guitar in.
Yeah.
Just like little technical things. Like, okay, yeah, have my check next time. Like,
Right.
exactly. Next time, like this will be ready. Next time someone comes over, like I'll make sure it's good to go. But yeah, I think like those moments are inevitable. But you're right. I think they happen, but you learn and start getting just better. Like, okay, you have your checklist on. Do you guys have any like certain things you're wanting to do like this year? Like this year's just starting off. Like, so I don't know if you guys have any like plans, stuff that you really want to do this year.
Just put out more music.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Any plans to like hit the road or anything like that?
We're thinking about it. We'll probably have some stuff later this year to announce. But right now we're just we got a few shows lined up for the beginning of this year, and you know we're also trying to write new music, release new music, and all that stuff. So maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future.
Near future.
That's always a nice goal. Like, how do you get to play like outside of here and stuff like that? And you just gotta have like the right logistically is always like the tough part, like how to get that stuff done.
Yeah, for
but
sure,
new music, honestly, I'm excited as hell for that. Like, I want to those newer singles. I'm like, when I saw the change, I'm like, this is a dope direction. Like, I want to know it. And like you write a lot. Like, it's what I see. Like, you definitely write a lot. Do you have like a specific like way that you sit down to write riffs? Do you like do it daily or do anything like that?
Yeah, I do.
Like,
I try to play guitar daily, but coming up with a song every song is different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one formula might work for this song, but it's not gonna work again.
Yeah.
Sometimes I come with the drum ideas first, or sometimes I just start with a riff first. So yeah, it differs.
You do first and just jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the I like writing music in that way where you just like are playing the same thing over and over until like it makes sense. I think earlier, I think that's what you were saying, where it's like, oh, like, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But my biggest like philosophy on it is like not trying to force something out of things, and
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna stick here to like I write something, but like if it's not making sense, then it's not gonna work out like
Right.
then, and just moving on to being able to move on to multiple like ideas.
Like most of the time, I don't sit there. I want to write. I don't have that mindset. I'm just playing guitar, and something sick comes, and I'm just hitting record.
Yeah.
And adding drums to it later. Like whenever I sit down, like I gotta write and finish this song, I can't come up with anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I think it makes me feel like I'm forcing something to come out of me, and it's not. Every time I do, it's not natural. Like,
Yeah.
I have like after, for instance, I have a part A and what comes like on B. I have so many riffs for B. Riff 1, riff 2, riff 3. And I said which one sounds good.
Yeah.
But none of it sounds gonna good. Because it's like I'm forcing it.
Yeah.
Like if it naturally comes to me, then that's when you know, like, okay, this is good. And that'll be a song.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like, because every time I've sat down to write something, like I've had it work one time, like lyrically, where I was like, but it's because like I was in a mood, and I'm like, okay, I feel like something's gonna happen. It's the only time that I've ever sat down and written an entire song because like the instrumental was done, like the idea, and I wrote something, but it's never happened like that again. It's always like I have to like just sit. Normally it's just like I always come up with like melodies because like I sing and stuff, so like the melody is the first thing that always hits me, and then like I'll sing that and sing it over and over again until like something I'm like, oh, like this might work. And normally like, words pop up and I'm like, oh, okay, we'll figure that out.
Record in your phone real quick.
There's so many of those voice memos. Like I'm sure like that's
Yeah.
something like that musicians just have like, oh, like it's a shit ton of voice memos that just work. But coming back to the idea of like being able to record whatever idea when it happens, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like if because you're not coming into it planning it, which I think is the important of jamming and playing like on a regular basis, because you're like playing just for fun or whatever, and then stuff like, oh, like there's an idea. But if you're only trying to sit down to write, it's kind of that's the tough part. Like, and then you end up like, what am I writing? And then listening to music. I'm a big fan of listening to like a variety of stuff to bring into like something. Like if you're playing metal, to listen to stuff like outside that's not metal, to like bring that incorporation in it. What do you think you have like any like specific like musicians at the moment that you're listening to? I know you mentioned some, like anything you're listening to like at the moment, Cody?
I'm listening.
You're a fan of?
Yeah, I'm listening to a lot of hip hop and a lot of like classic rock.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of where my headspace is. But like new bands that really get me hyped are like Kublai Khan, Gideon.
Nice.
I listen to those guys like almost daily. So.
Kublai Khan wasn't someone that I listened to a lot. Like I wasn't super into like that style and genre, but I saw them at So What, and that was the most insane fucking set. Like
it's
like
primal, man.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. That's exactly what it felt like.
Primal aspect of just that, like, drum and bass, tom, like. Just heaviness.
Yes.
It's so good.
It was definitely, it was one of those that kind of like flipped me. I'm like, I need to start listening to this shit because like I enjoy it. And again, that's the thing about live stuff, like stuff that I normally won't give a chance to, or like, oh, I'm not really a fan of that. If I see it live and it like moves me, I'm like, oh, I listen to that shit. But and then the way that band controls a crowd is fucking nuts.
Yeah,
dude.
Matt's crazy.
Yeah.
He really does know how to get people moving. It's great.
Definitely. That was an insane time. Fuck, what was I gonna say? Kublai Khan brought something up and I can't remember.
I had a chance to watch them at Seoul 2017 or 18, I forgot. But it was like Turnstile and them played at the same time, and I was like, no, I
gotta go.
I gotta go see Turnstile because Kublai Khan might play again here.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
down the, they're not far from here, so it's like, but Turnstile might be a little harder to.
I saw them at like some tiny venue in Dallas, and that's when I fell in love with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were crazy.
What are some like shows you've been to that have really like kind of, for lack of a corny, like changed you or really like made you just like fall in love with like live music from any like any genre, doesn't matter.
So my first show ever was Newfound Glory.
What? Yeah.
I found ended up winning some tickets at a skate competition, and
What the-
and
for skating, or was it like a raffle?
for skating.
Yeah, you skate?
Yeah. Well, not anymore, man. But
No, we got a board here. Bring it out. No, I'm just kidding.
do a kickflip.
Do a kickflip. New fact. That's a badass first show. I'm not gonna lie.
No,
That's-
it was great, and that was like the first time that I saw crowd surfing and all that shit. I was super young, man. It just took me away. So Newfound Glory. They're the reason why I'm into music, live music.
Nice. What about you, son?
Mine was I think I was like 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
It was back in Nepal, and there was like this band competition, and I went to see the competition, and there were like 10 bands playing, and all of them were tight. All of them were tight. Like, they were all metal bands, like top bands, like top upcoming bands at that time. And I was like, I didn't know metal existed in Nepal, and that was my first local show too. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they carry metal in Nepal too. Like that's what pushed me. Like, okay, I want to be like them. I want to play riffs like them. I want to grow my hair out. I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to grow my hair out. I want to headbang, and that was the show that. There was this band called Raise Hybrid, who I still look up to till this day. Every riff I write, I try to go towards that direction. They motivated me a lot to
Raise Hybrid.
Raise Hybrid from Nepal. Check it out.
Shout out Raise Hybrid from Nepal.
That's where my riffs come from too.
So before, were you already like into metal at the time, or was that like your
it was
experience?
Like just like those Slipknot, like not metalcore and stuff, but like Slipknot,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Linkin Park, and just the bigger bands.
Yeah.
I didn't know that metalcore existed or anything like
anything like subgenre wise, like something like like the different ones.
That's where I was exposed to it, and I was like,
wow, that's nuts. And then you found the scene and were just like, I guess started like going out to shows.
And after like 6 years, I played with them too.
Oh, really? What the fuck? Oh, that's badass.
They were doing a Slipknot cover, and I was like, I know the song. Yeah.
That's fucking cool. And then you came over here in the 2016. Is that what you said? 2016. Yeah. Wow, that's nuts. And did you immediately were trying to find like a scene here, like and see?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to go to Facebook and start looking for like metal in Dallas or metal in Fort Worth, but there was this one venue called 1919. That's what I was doing.
Okay. Yeah.
I just walked in there randomly one time.
This is off of Hemphill over here, right? Yeah.
And that's where I saw like a lot of hardcore bands, and I didn't know any of their names, to be honest, at that time.
Yeah.
There was a fest going on. That was like out of nowhere now that I think of it, because bands like Creeping Death.
Okay.
I didn't know they were called Creeping Death. Creeping Death, Kept in Line, Pulled Under. There were bands like that, and they were playing at. I was like, I just walked into a random venue.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I'd never seen something crazy like those hardcore shows like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, this is intense. Like, and later I found out, like, I dig more into the
like
Facebook,
researching, and it was like there's more around here.
I tried to find events and try to go. I went there a lot after that show.
To 1919.
Yeah, it was badass. Like, it was like two-story, and one band used to play while the other band is playing on top. The other band is setting up in the ground floor.
So there's consistent
it's like
music.
People are going up and down, up and down. That was so cool to me.
Yeah, that was one of the things when we just did Chill Sounds this year, and even the one before, it was that we wanted to be able to I don't want anyone to step on anyone's like toes, but I want you to whatever, like, you can find music playing at any time in this festival. Like, you go to one, the other one's setting up. By the time like they finish, you walk to the other room, like everything else is happening. You walk outside.
It was set up very well.
It was interesting. We were debating, like, we had a few other places that we were planning to try it out, and then we were like, you know what? We already have, like, we can do 2 stages here, and then, like, let's bring one for the outside, and then, like, we'll see, like, how we can work it out. And it seemed to be an easy way to flow through all three and stuff. But yeah, that day, like I said, luckily we plan on doing it there again. If anything changes, I'm not sure, but it was a good, like, try to be like, okay, we know what to do now and how to, like, make this work. But I like that idea because that's what I remember, like, just that festival type of stuff. Because I mean, I think the first, like, ever, like, thing like that I went to was, like, a Warped Tour, and Warped Tour was around, and I went for one band. Like, I literally, it was for a day to remember, because that was, like, the first band. I was like, that's the only band I care to see. But, like, I ended up seeing like Paramore and like
Yeah.
Angels Airways, like, and the first mosh pit I ever got into. It's funny you bring up Newfound. It's not Newfound Glory, but that ska band, Real Big Fish.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
the first
yeah,
mosh
okay.
pit I've been into, and they were like just
Oh.
like doing push. I'm like, and it was badass, but I got to see like a bit of everything. But that vibe is what I remember. That I'm like, that was cool. You just got to hang out. Like if you didn't, like if you were tired, you just went and sat down like under some trees or something, and then like
Yeah.
went back and listened to more music. And like after the pandemic and stuff like that, it was really tough to be like, oh, like nothing like that. Like I haven't been to anything like that in a while, because you couldn't, and still like being weird. So it was really nice to try to bring some of that. Just hey, like let's hang out, listen to music, and have a variety of it too, because you guys are on like the heavy like side, and then we have like other stuff going on like inside of like indie things and things like that. Like so like it'll something you like, and pretty much like most people listen to a variety of stuff anyways. Of what you're listening to. So I thought that was pretty. I'm glad that you guys like got to play that, especially.
It was cool. It was set up very well. I think you guys executed it pretty damn
It was
good.
it was like like from the outside it ran okay, and I'm like we were panicking a lot on the inside, running away.
Sure.
Yeah, but it was a good time. I think it was really fun. But I think that's really cool. Like when you came over here immediately, we're just like I'm just gonna try to find music like somewhere, and like found it. Because it is, I feel like it is a little intimidating first when I first started like coming onto the scene, is like going to stuff by myself to find like music.
Right.
But it's something that more recently I've wanted to do more of. So then like I started just buying tickets. Like when me and TJ were initially like moved in together, I used to buy like 2 tickets to like random shows every week, and we're like, oh, let's go. I think it was always like on a Tuesday or something like that. I think we used to like be like, oh, it's Take Me Out Tuesdays, and we'd go find random like shows and be like, oh, let's just go and see who we find, and you end up finding these like there's this Japanese band we ran into at Lola's, I think, and I don't know what the hell they were doing, but it was crazy. It was like this crazy experimental band. But like he had like a toy gun, like a little laser gun, and he was like putting it on his pickups and like shooting it out using like a loop pedal and something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I could have been at home, but I'm watching this crazy like this craziness unfold, and it was fantastic. But that's one thing like with NoiseROT and stuff that we want to be able to encourage. We have a few projects coming up that try to encourage us, but just to people to take chances on just live music again. You know what I mean? Just like go see something new for once, because like it's that stepping out of like a comfort zone, like to go like see these and create that sense of like community with people. That's one thing that I enjoy about the hardcore scene, is that I've noticed like it's like a just giant family thing, and I'm like, that's cool. I go, why can't we do that with every other genre? Like why can't like that's the same people? Even like it was kind of neat. The other day, me and Bert went to Ethan's like birthday show or whatever, and that kind of felt like that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I think it's trying to turn a page here, but I feel like having the music scene be welcoming to like whoever's coming in to see it. You know what I mean? Like especially like new people, instead of discouraging people from coming out to shows and being like, I feel like earlier on in the way I used to think about stuff, I used to be real elitist about certain things in music, and I'm like, bro, now I just want everyone just to vibe and like enjoy, find some like band they like, you know what I mean? Like that's because there's so much good music around here that we have. Are there any like favorite like bands that you guys like playing with?
You can go first.
Right now, like locally.
Or anyone in general that you've played with.
I don't know, man. Which one would you pick?
I mean, I enjoy playing with the guys in Bloodletting.
Yeah,
Slow Pulse from Austin.
Oh shit, I haven't listened to
Burning
Slow Pulse
Blood. I would say Burning Blood.
Born in Blood's a lot of fun to play with.
They're good people.
Ultimatum. What's crazy is like so many bands came out of the pandemic and just like everybody's tearing shit up right now. It's everybody we've played with, we've had great shows. I mean, even bands that have come out of town like Bystander.
Yeah, Bystander.
They're really cool dudes, fun to play with. I don't know. there's so many good bands in Texas.
How did y'all like handle that? Like, I know we didn't touch on that yet. Like, cause you started in 2019 and then pandemic hits like right when you're getting going. How did that kind of like hit the band? Were you already in the band with the pandemic?
Yeah, so I joined like right after the pandemic started, right? So we spent a lot of that time just honing in on learning the shit, and then by the time everybody was caught up and ready to go, that's when the venue started opening up anyway.
Yeah.
So like we kind of just fell right into the end of the pandemic as far as like opening shows and venues up again.
We were just getting ready in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
That-
we were practicing stuff, getting locked in, everything.
I noticed that like it definitely made or broke a lot of bands, like, because like you're either like, okay, like we can still work on stuff like while this is going. I mean, mine was one that broke, but it really showed like, hey, if you want to do this, like you can still do this, like, and just be ready when this is like, you know, when we're going back to it. And I feel like that's why music and more bands have been popping up, because people had time to like, you know, really practice on what they were doing, learn to record. I know that was a big thing during the pandemic.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. But that's a big thing. It's like, okay, like, you know, we can't, if we're not gonna be together all the time playing live, like we can definitely figure out a different skill, like that eventually is gonna help out what you're doing anyways. You know what I mean? Like, so recording's a big one. Building, you know, social media content, which is, again, it's a huge deal. You guys do a decent job. Like, I've seen like this type of like the videos, even like from the Root sessions, like y'all made your own like stuff like that, which I thought was cool. I'm like, that's a big game, like that you have to, another skill that you have to learn as a, you know, as a musician. It's weird. It's like, oh, you have to learn how to, you know, edit a little video here, like do whatever you want, and
you
stay
gotta
consistent.
be the content creator.
Yeah, you do. It's another job that you've had to absorb.
I think we do pretty good at that though. Like, we're totally all within the band. So like I did all of our album arts for the most part.
Really?
I've done some shirt designs. Daniel Hambright's helped out with some of those too, and like he does a lot of the footage editing and other shit like that. Like we all try to keep it within ourselves and not try to outsource too much.
That's my main goal.
Yeah.
Like, not trying to outsource. We're up till like 12 last night at his house trying to figure out a merch design for a hoodie.
Oh, really?
So
it's like being in a band, you think like, oh, just write music, and it's not that no more. Like you gotta be able to do a lot of things besides playing music. Obviously, gotta be good at doing that. But it's not enough. Like if you're trying to go somewhere, it's not enough.
Yeah, that you said the key thing. Like if you're trying to go somewhere, like because you can write music and play it out and put it out. Like if you're okay with like it never going anywhere, like it's cool. That's all you need to do is be a good musician. But like if you are trying to like become like it being like a professional musician, touring, stuff like that, like you need to be able to promote yourself, because that's what, like, in my eyes, like that's what the label does, you know what I mean? Like if you ever like it's like, it's just figuring out a way how to get to sell you. If you learn how to sell yourself, then like you have like a one up on these things, you know, because like that's a really big deal, where like if you figure out how to do most of these things on your one, it's cost effective, because everything is fucking expensive. Like to hire people out to do stuff every time you want to do something, I'm like, when you can learn how to put out quickly, you know, quick little videos or something like that, you know, that take a little time, but you know, that saved you money. Now you have content to put out. And
also you need someone who you can trust, like, because a lot of times people are gonna ask you like, okay, what kind of stuff do you want, like, and we don't have any idea, like what kind of stuff we want. Like we have an idea, but we can't tell him, like we can't explain it, you know.
Oh I got you. Okay, finding someone you can trust to like get some of your vision out, because like it's hard to that's tough.
I feel like the rise of the independent artist is on the up, you know. So like the independent artist can go to Fiverr and freelance, you know, a ton of shit, you know. And just in this day and age, a record label just really isn't needed or necessary, because if you're putting out good content, taking care of like all of your socials, that's gonna help pay for your tours eventually. I mean, this is a very, very far down the line road, but like once you get to that point, there's no turning back, really.
It also gives you more leverage when you go into like if you ever go into a label and be like, hey, well, everything they're offering you, be like, oh, we do that already. Right. I mean, so it gives you a little bit more control in that, power in like negotiating rooms. Like I've seen like stuff like people just getting like distribution deals and just like just stuff like to put out or nothing like having to do, because there's some really bad record deals like that people get, and it's
Slipknot's was terrible, right?
Was it?
I don't know.
I think it was like, don't quote me on this, but I think it was like $500,000 for 7 albums or something like that.
Quote him, clip it. Yeah, that's fucking terrible. And I mean, and then those deals where it's like, this is basically a loan for you to figure out how to do your album and then pay it back like later, and it's very, very interesting. And then when like they started taking from tour, you know what I mean? Like it used to be like they got sales of your records and stuff, and now it's like they take part of your tour, which is most of the time when musicians make their money back. Yeah, that and merch, and they were taken from merch, and I'm like, that's crazy. I go, it's tough to go into that early on. Like if you're well prepared yourself, then like you go in there with a little more confidence rather than just like kind of dreamy eyed and be like, it's a deal, I'll take it. Like and it ended up screwed. But yeah, learning to do a lot of your stuff yourself is essential. Like you just have to. Like you have to learn all these skills. It's tiresome, and sometimes like even like with content building, that's all I do. Like for NoiseROT, and I'm like, okay, sometimes I'm like, this is tiring, like to do all this stuff. But it is. I took a break from it, like from editing, because I like for a bit. Bert was helping me edit the podcast, so I would just post and do that, and then I realized that I missed it. I'm like, I actually do miss like editing clips and stuff like that. Right. So it's figuring out the right balance, how to get stuff done. I do like making stuff so that I can promote like again like stuff that doesn't get made for locals or anybody at this level, and I'm like it's nice, like that's, I go, it would have been cool as shit like if something like that was around when I was like playing.
Absolutely.
I go, so stuff like that like really helps out. But yeah, at the end of the day, that learning those skills, it's just to help out your band. At the end of the day, if you don't want to do it, that's fine, like, but your band's not going to benefit from it.
No.
So it's a good way, it's a good attitude to take towards your own ownership of your like stuff, being proud of like what you put out. And just being happy with the music you're playing, as simple as that. And it looks like whenever I see you guys play, it looks like you guys are having a great time up there with the stuff you're doing.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
That's badass. Anything you guys have coming up, like shows or anything like that? This will be out next week.
Next week we got
our next show is January 28th.
the Ridgely Metal Fest.
Oh, nice.
That's
a big. Are they using the big stage?
All three.
All
three, yeah.
Because there's like 30
or
bands,
two.
I guess. 30 bands playing, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but that's getting put on by Lockjaw. They're headlining that one. Then we got February. Did we take that one in Austin?
I don't know.
So we got February 17th, which is Sergio's birthday bash. And then we got the 23rd with Bystander.
Okay.
And then as far as right now, March. Actually, I'm not gonna. Yeah. March 31st to be announced.
Okay. TBH for March 31st, and then working on music and some new music this year from Instinct. We're gonna get. You guys, if you guys watch this podcast, by the time you'll see this, the intro version is now Made of Stone by Instinct, which is hard.
Appreciate it.
We got a music video for it, so go check it out.
Yeah. Check out the music video. Check out Instinct. They got a bunch of stuff going. It's Instinct TX on Instagram. Is that right?
Instinct DTX.
DTX, yeah. Instinct DTX. Go check out all their stuff. They had some shows coming up, and as soon as you guys get new music, we'll be promoting that shit too for us. We love you guys, and appreciate you guys stopping by.
Thank you, man.
Thank you guys for watching, listening. This was episode 49. 49 with Instinct. Thank you guys. We'll see you later.
Sounds and breakdowns. Better lose your man, we should run away.